freedom that is unconditional. What does that mean? When you hear about people speak about spiritual awakening, realization, all those words, enlightenment, what is being pointed to? And what are the benefits of remembering what we are? That's actually my chosen word, is remembering, because it's remembering something that we already are. It's not, well, those words aren't wrong, realizing, so it's realizing what we are in truth. And awakening meaning awakening out of a dream of believing that we're separate. So what is the point of remembering our essential nature? And again, another question would be, who remembers? What is it that remembers? Mind will start to spin on all these different expressions. But the truth is super simple. Is the human being, what we are, has a capacity to self-reflect on itself, to reflect on its nature, which makes things very interesting. We have a capacity to see ourselves. So that means that we have a capacity to see what we are in truth. That self-reflective nature also, it can trip itself up and imagine itself into being a something, because that self-reflective mechanism, it spins like a verb. It has a momentum that loops around and makes it seem like what it is that is noticing what it is can start to feel like something separate, like an entity, when actually it is just pure noticing. It's noticing what it is. When we hear about enlightenment or about awakening, it can start to bring that noticing into a deeper way, not just noticing itself in reflection to the outside world, which is where the sense of I can get lost in imagining that it has something to do with the outside, when really it's all happening here. Be a light unto yourself, the Buddha said. Every teaching is pointing back to the internal, back to here. So the unconditional, in this case, is that which does not have conditions and which does not participate in imagination. So the self-reflective mechanism, which is actually just consciousness tuning into itself, seeing itself, it has the capacity to see what it is made of. And then it unsticks itself, it unglues itself from the hypnotic trance of being a something, that loop that starts to feel like it is something, a something, an entity, a me, what some people call ego, which actually doesn't exist. It's just a mechanism of self-reflection that imagines itself into being. So when that's seen through, you can see that none of that exists. The me doesn't exist, the I doesn't exist, and the ego doesn't exist. And at the same time, there's always a sense of being a me, because we're in bodies and we need to operate, and there's nothing wrong, actually, with having a sense of being a me. It's a beautiful thing. It can delight in itself, uniquely, like each flower is different. So when it's not lost in story, when it's not lost in imagination that it is something, it's actually it can become liberated and it can be delighted in to have a sense of me. So what is the point of remembering what we are, of awakening? It's just that. Is that rather than being caught up in a loop of imagination that you are separate and that you are individuated, and that sense actually can cause a lot of suffering, right? And then at the same time, those things are true on some level, but only when it can be seen from the perspective of wholeness can it be seen as something that's actually beautiful and doesn't cause suffering. So then we become awareness, a point of awareness within the whole, rather than feeling like a point of awareness separate from the whole. And there's a huge difference there between the two. And I was reflecting on what is the point of awakening. It's something that I basically dedicate my life to in terms of sharing about this kind of stuff. Besides, of course, having my own life of being with my teens and my children and raising them and being a mother and all kinds of other things, my passion seems to be sharing. So I think it's a really good question to ask oneself. What is the point of awakening, and why does it seem to grab some of us? And most of us are being led by suffering. We hear that there can be an end in suffering, and so we gravitate towards those teachings. And my experience is that there's truth to those teachings. And each one may have a particular flavor or way to go about it, but the truth is that we are unconditional freedom underneath all the imagination of what we are. And how to tap into that unconditional freedom is the journey. Disengaging and with imagination, and just keep turning the view and the eyes and the awareness, rather than focusing on the outside all the time. To start to turn that flashlight of awareness, it's like consciousness has a lens, and it looks and it pays attention to wherever it's looking, whatever it's sensing. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't have a preference. But when consciousness turns that light of awareness back onto itself, then it remembers what it is. It remembers that it's unconditional freedom, ground of being, whatever words you want to call. And then you can participate in life without getting lost in it. You realize, actually, one realizes that one is a sense of a me, and it's fine. One realizes, actually, that you're the whole. You're the sense of me within the whole. And embodiment is the gradual deepening of the understanding that one is the whole. So you become, and you know yourself as everything. It's not that you become everything, you know yourself as everything, the truth of the matter. That we are matter.